Hi, welcome to guthixrest. I am a guy named Sparry.
And I'm Birdfacts.
And we're a podcast that talks about all things old school RuneScape. So grab a drink and get ready. How's your week going?
It's going, you know. It as it always is. It goes. Got some fun stuff going on. Got 87 Slayer finally. Got Kraken tasks.
Yeah, that's a big one. The Trident on the Iron Man.
Yeah.
A huge upgrade.
Actually got it. Got a jar of dirt before I got the Trident, but still ended up getting the Trident.
Yeah, it's just one step closer to green logging Kraken.
Yeah. I was getting flamed by other fellow Iron Men that were like, you should just kill the small ones. And I was like, man,
Yeah,
I have
why
to
would you?
pay a little I have to pay a little more attention.
Yeah.
And that's effort. Kraken boss is extraordinarily AFK. It's the first time I've ever done it. People were always telling me that it's like the most AFK boss in the universe, and now I get it. Yeah, it 100% is.
There's a reason every time you look up a main account or an Iron Man that has
Just so many
Slayer,
many Kraken kills.
Yeah, they have, several...
It's so free.
Several, 1,000 Kraken kills.
I think I already have like 480. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the only reason I don't have more Kraken kills is I've already greenlogged the boss. I did so at about 250 Kraken, which is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I did not get a tentacle yet, but, I'd rather have the Trident over the tentacle, so I'll take that. Especially since Tridents were actually rarer than the tentacle from boss Trident, or boss Kraken.
And there's a lot of ways nowadays that you can skip over getting getting the Abyssal Tentacle,
If I really wanted, I could just hop back into Corrupted Gauntlet and pray for another enhanced weapon seed that I could turn into a blade.
Or you could potentially get a Fang from TOA, or...
True.
Maybe you send some Tob once you have your Elite Void. I don't know if you already have that completed or not.
I do. I got that done a while back.
And then you can absolutely send some pretty scuffed Tobs.
Yeah, I don't know. Haven't learned Tob. Not something that I'm...
Yeah.
I want to do it eventually. It's not something that's on my close to-do list. But it does look fun.
Yeah.
I do like the high skill content, so...
I've heard a lot of people say Tob is a ton of fun, and it's, still regarded as the best raid in the game by a lot. Especially hard mode, once you've mastered the mechanics.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably pretty fun. But, I'm still a wee lad on the grand scheme of hard content,
Yeah. Yeah, well...
I can do Corrupted Gauntlet. That's my claim to fame. I can 5-1.
You did do some TOA with me after you got your Trident.
It's true.
I hopped in a chat instead of going to bed, and I said, all right, we got to send a raid now. I've been waiting for this moment. And it was pretty good. We did a easy 150, and I got my first purple in 100 raids.
Fucking finally.
Yeah, I got so excited seeing that purple light.
Wish I knew how it felt.
I mean, you just gotta keep going. Eventually, odds are you'll get something right. Like, you can't.
I mean, my luck on the iron has honestly been so much better than the main.
Yeah.
Just kind of overall. Still, I mean, unless you count the 3 gauntlet pets I have on the main, I really have no claim to fame to be lucky on that account.
Yeah. And the only luck I have on my main, right? I don't usually get items worth money. I just get lots of pets. So,
yeah, I've also been getting surprisingly lucky. That's right. I think that happened not even like 3 or 4 days ago. I got the fucking mining pet at Volcanic Mine. That was stupid.
Yeah, you did.
I only have like 3 million mining XP.
Yeah, I can't remember who we were with, but it might have been Toaster.
I'm pretty sure it was Toaster.
Yeah, you freaked out for a moment and then didn't say anything, or just like, is everything okay? I thought your internet died for a moment.
I died, actually.
Yeah, you
Rip
died.
hardcore.
You had a heart attack. And
yeah, no, that was stupid because we had just been talking about how it's like pretty decent mining pet chance at Volcanic Mine.
Yeah, it's the best non-tick manipulation chance for the pet. And here you are now with the pet. And I didn't see your pet because
use it.
Yours was underneath mine.
Well, you didn't see it at all because I had KQ Pet following me.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you had to.
So I went to my inventory. I was
like,
I think I was probably like leaning back in my chair, like, you know, doing Volcanic Mine as one does. And then I didn't get screen notified, but like a bunch of stuff popped up in the chat since I'm in a clan, and like the collection log notification appeared at the top of the screen. So it like caught my attention. I like looked up and I was like, what the fuck is that? So.
Yeah. And that's pretty exciting to get a skilling pet, because those are actually pretty rare to come by.
Yeah, I have 3 99s on the main, and I never got one. I don't have any 99s on my iron, and I have 2 skilling pets already. 3 if you count the Abyssal Protector, but not really a skilling pet. It's a mini game pet, but the mini game is all about skilling, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked thinking about it. I'm not missing many skilling pets. Actually, that's not true. Man. I have 3 skilling pets. I'm missing 5 of them. Rift Guardian, Beaver, Baby Chin, Giant Squirrel, and Tangleroot I still need, but the only skill of those that I've 99'd so far is woodcutting. And this week I got 99 mining, but I already have 3 rock golems.
I wasn't at your party because I hate you, but congrats.
Yeah, thank you. It was a long time coming. It's been like 2 months since I dedicated myself to grinding out, almost 3 months actually, since I dedicated myself to grinding out mining, and being busy with work, just doing other things. It's taken quite some time, but forcing people to come do Volcanic Mine with me has really that's what really let me get to 99 mining.
You obviously still need to go back to VM for the broken pickaxe C-log slot though, so
maybe during bingo. Maybe during bingo.
That's true.
Or the clan I'm in, TNL, they're doing bingo in a month from now. 2 weeks from now, actually. And I'm making Birdfacts here join us, and it's gonna be a good time.
Forced me to pay 1 million GP to join this bingo event. I can't believe this.
But when we win the bingo, he's gonna get a third of that, I think, is the first place prize.
I have no idea. I am going in just assuming that I lost that 1 mil, but it doesn't really matter because I'm just going to go do bosses and stuff during the bingo and probably get more than 1 mil in drops.
Yeah,
so
it's not about
kind of whatever.
It's not about the prize money. It's really just about like getting the experience, hanging out with the people in the clan, having fun, doing bosses, doing raids, doing skilling content that you wouldn't normally do.
It makes getting the drop that you want just that much better, especially if it's like a drop that you need. In my case, since I'm an Iron Man, I'll probably end up going to Zora, and like I need a blowpipe, I need to upgrade my trident. So if that also happens to be a bingo tile, it's like, oh well, now that's extra pog.
Yeah, and I can almost guarantee that one of the tiles is going to be like Zora.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely. Zora's a staple boss at this point in old school.
Yeah, Zora, and probably there's going to be a Muspa tile, and there's probably going to be a Vorkath tile, and I know TNL loves their Volcanic Mine tile, right? They like to make people do the skilling content that seems intimidating at first until you do it and realize that it's the most relaxed way to do mining in the game.
Yeah, Volcanic Mine's free content. It's so free.
Yeah.
I think I do what most people would probably consider to be the air quotes hardest role, just because you have to do the most stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not hard.
Yeah, you do.
I just have to click on the most things.
C check B fix, right?
Yeah, whatever it's the last one.
Yeah.
Or I don't remember.
I don't
it's the one where you gotta
called.
run north all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to do A side, but if I can e-girl, your boy's gonna e-girl.
I don't even have tile markers on A side, dude. I've never been over there.
But yeah, that I'm really excited for bingo. I'm happy that I got 99 mining before bingo was done, so that I wouldn't have to worry about losing efficiency on that. I can just focus now on doing really whatever. Once bingo rolls around, I'm just gonna try to earn as much money as I can during the 2 weeks that it runs, and after that, I'm gonna continue my goal of trying to max by the end of the year.
What's the next skill?
Right now, in game, I'm just AFKing crafting, just blowing glass. I know it's not super efficient on a main, but it's really AFK.
That is very true.
I'm almost to 95 fishing, and I want to finish the Spirit Angler outfit, so I'm probably going to send some Tempros after we finish the podcast today.
Okay.
And maybe just work towards 99
fishing. I will not
fishing.
be joining you for that. I hate Tempros.
You hate Tempros, really?
Yes. I mean, I don't hate it because it's bad. I hate it because I've done it a lot, and it's just boring now.
Yeah, it does have that. So the other two big mini games that are for skills, you have Wintertodd, and then you have Guardians of the Rift, and I guess you have the smithing one too. Giant's Foundry.
Giant's Foundry pops off.
And I'm going to count Volcanic Mine too. All of those, the difference between those minigames and Fishing Todd is that Tempros is not random. It's the same every single time. So there's no variety when you do it.
Yeah, that is part of the problem.
When you do Wintertodd, although, it kind of sucks, as a Wintertodd stan, it does suck that, you could just get absolutely fucked and take a ton of damage and have your brazier break a bunch. That's annoying. But at least it, changes things up so you're not just sitting there, staring at the screen, having nothing happen for 6 hours straight.
Yeah, I think taking damage at Wintertodd isn't the problem.
Yeah.
It's being punished for having higher hit points, so you take more damage is the real problem there. Because it's like, oh great, I have 95 hit points now, and I need to go back to Wintertodd. This is real, I do, because I need to train my fire making. I have 95 hit points, now I just need to bring brews.
Yeah, that's definitely annoying. I've seen suggestions that instead of doing hit points, there should be a warmth meter, and that just acts as a stand-in for hit points. If your warmth goes down to 0, maybe instead of killing you, it just kicks you out,
Now, we still need hardcores dying at Wintertodd.
It is very funny when hardcores die. But it's not in line with the other minigames. None of the other ones kill you if you kill them, except for Volcanic Mine.
Yeah, Volcanic Mine. But Volcanic Mine is kind of advertises out. Yeah, it advertises itself as being a little dangerous, kind of for bad boys.
Yeah, and it has a much higher barrier to entry as well.
All those kudos. A lot of people don't have those, which is weird. Do your quests.
Yeah, no. The biggest issue I had with finding people to do Volcanic Mine with me was they just didn't have the kudos. I got 3 or 4 people on my way to 99 offer to join me at Volcanic Mine, and then we gear up, they talk to the guy, and they can't get in because they don't have the kudos.
Yeah, I talked to the guy, and I couldn't get in, but that's because I hadn't built the museum camp. I forgot that was a requirement for that.
Yeah, that's
that
also
one's super easy to just go smash out. I think I had only built the bank and the fossil cleaning station, because the rest of it is literally worthless. Mm-hmm. Has no mechanical benefit to the player.
I don't know why, but when I first started playing back in 2018, I just built the camp right away.
I think I did on my main, just because I was like, oh, these poor people on this island, gotta help them out, because that's my first time through the old school story, and so I'm kind of immersing myself a little bit. But now I am jaded to the story because I've gone through it so many times. I'm just like, all right, cool, moving on with my life.
Yeah.
I built the bank. That's all that matters to me. See you later.
See ya, idiots.
You need a well for water to live? See ya. Build it yourself.
Yeah, what's the point in that? Jesus. Yeah, it's understandable. I think there might be, like, a small thing you get out of it. Like, I think you get fossils or something. It's been a long time. Anything else happen this week in RuneScape for you? Or outside of RuneScape?
I got granite boots from Fossil on Wyverns. That was funny.
That is kind of funny. Not really
it's
worth
like
it.
One in 2,000 drop.
Is there a clue step that uses that, maybe?
I think there's absolutely nothing.
Well, that's collection log completed.
I've only killed like 200 of them. I also have the granite longsword I got way before that, too. Next up, Visage. Easy.
I've just simply blocked them now. They're just not fun to kill.
Yeah, they kind of suck, but the allure of the possibility of getting that like 1 in 13,000 or whatever Visage, it's enough for me to not block them. And the tasks are usually like kill 20 of them. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do it.
That's fair. I remember doing them when I was a much lower level, just because I didn't really know much better, and all the tasks at that level kind of suck.
Yeah.
That's kind of a tangent I want to get into too. Slayer at low levels absolutely blows.
Yeah, it sucks.
And
it's not good.
People always tell new players, like, get into Slayer. Slayer's so much fun. Slayer makes you so much money. Yeah, when you're killing, like, Cerberus and Thermi...
Cerberus isn't fun.
And you're killing, Jad on task, and you're...
And you get that Dust Devils tasks, and you fucking destroy them.
Yeah, when you're doing
barrages.
burst tasks, and, like...
You make $1 million.
Yeah.
Every task, you look at your loot tracker, and you're like, wow, I profited like 6 million GP from that task. Let's fucking...
Yeah, but when you're killing, like, monkeys and Abbey Specters and, like, just these dog shit tasks...
And, like, metal dragons all the time.
Yeah. It's just...
You don't have any points to skip or block.
Yeah, and your stats suck, so it takes forever. You're not using cannon, probably.
And you need points to get the unlocks, so you're unwilling to Turiel skip.
You don't even know how to Turiel boost at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks.
You know what doesn't suck, though?
You tell.
The Bounty Hunter rewards beta and more.
Whoa.
This week's game update.
Oh, was that this week's update? Is it, like, in the game?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, right now, if you log into RuneScape, you can go to any of the beta worlds located from 401 to 412. And it's actually, sorry, not all those worlds. 401, 405, 407, 409, and 412. And you can test out the new Bounty Hunter items.
Wow.
We're not going to get super in-depth in it, because we're not PvP people. I mean, who knows? Maybe after Bounty Hunter, we'll do more PvP. They're going to be testing out the different items.
All the Ancient Warrior stuff.
Yeah, the Ancient Warrior stuff.
I remember always thinking that shit was so sick. But I used to play in like 2012-ish era, and that was like actually in the video game. I was like, oh my god. And then they added it to Deadman mode, and I was like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, I never played in that era, so... I'm not familiar with them.
It's cool to see them back, though. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're only usable in Bounty Hunter, which I believe they are.
Yes, sir.
Then I'm fine with them. Yeah, we're getting Vestas, which gives you increased melee special attacks. Morgans, which is range special attacks. Zuriel's, which is just increased accuracy to magic attacks.
Is that like a set bonus?
Then,
it uses less spec energy?
It's accuracy to those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 15% accuracy to range special, melee special, and then just magic attacks in general. And they are doing magic attacks specifically instead of specials because
there are like no good mage specials. There's like volatile staff. And I think the new wilderness staff has a spec.
It does, but it's not. It's like a defense lowering thing.
Gotcha.
It's like a BGS. And then Stadius as well. It comes in 2 flavors, regular and corrupted. Sounds like the corrupted is for like defense peers.
Yeah, it looks like they're like
20
tier
defense.
20.
Mm-hmm. The other is tier 78, and they provide, I believe, a lot of accuracy and offensive stats, but kind of crappy defensive.
0 prayer bonus.
Yeah.
Somewhat notable.
Yeah, they have corrupted versions of all of them. So if you want a low defense or low level PK, you absolutely can with these sets.
Notably, the corrupted versions, at least of Statius, I'm noticing, their defensive stats are lower, but also the offensive negatives are a little bit higher, lower, however you want to talk about negatives. It goes from like the Statius plate legs normally are a negative 30 magic. Yeah, they're not as bad, but only by like negative 30 to negative 26, which is kind of a weird choice. It's kind of like a weird detail for them to latch onto. I'm not really sure why.
That's usually how it works, though. Like, because you're a lower level, your negative bonuses are going to be lower as well, just because you have less stats to play with.
Wait, hold on. This is weird. Okay, Statius plate legs, magic attack is negative 30. Ranged attack is negative 12. The corrupted version has a negative 26, which is 4 higher than the regular one. But the ranged attack is negative 13, which is actually 1 lower than the regular Statius plate legs.
That's weird. I wonder how they came to these stats.
And the plate body goes from negative 17 to negative 15, which is better.
Yeah.
Very strange. I'm sure there's all kinds of like little weird oddities like that, but
I'm assuming that they're being balanced based off of like what people at that tier can already equip.
Yeah, maybe.
Like maybe it's being based on like the Fremenic kilt or something.
Yeah. I would not know. I'm not super into that scene, so
yeah, we're both not PKers, so we're both just kind of speaking out our ass right now.
I watched some PKers, but other than to see them click very good and way better than I ever will be able to, I don't really understand a whole ton what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some LMS and I have a dark bow pure that can TB. That's about it. Speaking of dark bow. Speaking of dark bow. Weapon imbues. They are they're adding improved versions of these classics to LMS. So if you want to bring out the dark bow, you can with a better max hit and less special attack cost.
Wow.
They also have the barrel chest anchor, the dragon longsword, the D mace, the abyssal dagger, and they all kind of follow the same trend of either less spec or just better stats for it. They've also changed some things like the dragon longsword imbued. It has an increased 25% accuracy, so that you might be able to hit like higher defense targets easier with it.
And then notably, the special attack of the imbued dragon longsword delays your next attack by only 4 rather than 5, which is kind of cool because it makes it normal attack speed essentially for that, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and they have some neat ideas in here, but we're not really the people to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of the longsword being like something of a combo weapon because of that is kind of cool. I don't know if we'll see it being viable. I guess the people that are trying it out on Worlds
401, 405, 407, 409, and 412.
We'll see if it's any better or useful at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might actually hop on the beta worlds, but that'll probably just be to send Inferno attempts.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. You don't have to log into the beta worlds to test out the items. If you want to send Inferno attempts or try out hard content before you do it on your hardcore Iron Man, you absolutely can just do whatever you want on those worlds.
Yeah, beta worlds are great. I personally recommend hopping on them if you want to try some stuff out, because I believe you can adjust your stats. You can get like any item in the game, not any item, but there's like a chest that has a whole ton of commonly used PVM items. So my plan is I'm going to adjust my account to have the same stats as my group iron currently does, and just see if it's theoretically possible for me to do Inferno on it at my skill level. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. In the other changes category, there's only 2 things in here that are really notable. The first is that now whenever you increase a combat level, you're going to get a pop-up notification just like you would if you got a regular level. And if that sounds annoying, because that will potentially stall you in combat, there's now a setting that you can make it so it doesn't pop up the level up interface. So, cool.
I feel like they should make it so you can disable the level up interface specifically while in combat. Because I do like seeing it when I'm just like skilling, but while I'm in combat, it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's been a number of times when I was first learning Vorkath that I died when I got a ranged or HP level and just got stalled.
Yeah, I'm usually able to adapt personally. I'm able to like figure it out, but it sends me into like a panicked frenzy for a moment. I'm like, oh, why did I stop? Oh. And then of course, once you get to 99, it's not a problem anymore. So why can't we just like make it not like this does work? Mm-hmm. But I've always liked getting the little jingles. I've always kind of been upset that the level up jingles are tied to music because I play with music off a lot of the time. I listen to my own music. And I kind of miss the jingles.
Yeah, I wish there was more audio sliders.
I wish that there was a way to make them...
Like, I like playing with area sounds on.
I don't know.
But I don't like hearing other players skilling. Because area sounds is how you hear your own skilling. But I don't like hearing other people.
If you have the annoyance mute plugin. Yeah, I can agree with that. The annoyance mute plugin kind of solves that problem, but it just mutes, like, it broadly mutes X sound. So even if you're doing that sound.
Yeah, it's kind of a band-aid.
Well, you can't hear it anymore, so it doesn't really fix the problem. It's nice, but it's not perfect. I do think, like, whenever I do PVM, I always play with game sound on, and sometimes if the music's good enough, like in TOA or at MUSPA, I turn the music on, because I think some of the music in this game is absolutely banger. But I think that for PVM, game sound is, like, actually very, very good. It's not necessarily a reliable tool for some instances. Like, I know a lot of Inferno players, they play with game sound on, but they don't use it as, like, their primary method of gaining, like, game information because it can be somewhat inconsistent. But I think it's still a good tell all the time of what's going on. There's actually a decent bit of sound design that goes into some of the newer activities.
Yeah, like a lot of bosses will have an audio cue for each different attack. And you'll be able to distinguish an attack with the audio cue, maybe sometimes even before visually you see the boss doing the attack.
Yeah, like Vorkath, the prayer turn off attack, you can immediately tell that one's about to come out because the sound has a very different audio style. Like, the very first few milliseconds.
Yeah, Vorkath is a boss I never do with audio, so that's not something I knew.
Yeah. All of the attacks are very audio distinct, except for just like the regular, auto attacks, the ranged. Actually, I don't even think that's true. I'm pretty sure the mage attack sounds different, just like the regular mage attack.
It's good to know.
I don't remember, but all the special attacks sound different, so.
The other somewhat interesting change, the boss KCs for the high scores has been bumped down to 30.
Dang. If you had a special account that had like a pet or something and you had 30 kills or something, sucks to be you. You're not hidden from the high scores anymore.
Soon it'll be impossible.
But now people can tell exactly how many you had.
Soon it'll be impossible for hardcores to do willy bosses without immediately being on the high score.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if you just never log out.
Yeah, I mean, once they log out, though, before you could hide behind the fact that you hadn't done 50. I didn't think about that. And now it's just immediately on there.
Did not even think about that. That kind of sucks, but whatever. I don't think that should be a consideration for it.
I'm more for the high scores being as accurate as possible.
Yeah, I am very glad that the numbers are going down, honestly. It's super cool to be able to see everybody's achievements, regardless of how many that they've done, Because, like, if I see that some guy's done, like, 3 corrupted gauntlets, I'll be like, okay, respect, you tried. You got some in there, let's go.
All right, let's get on to the skill pitches. New skill pitches, FAQ and Discord stages summary. This is really exciting.
I'm in the Discord.
Are you?
For this. Yes.
Is it invite or can you just join?
I think you can join. I don't remember. I'm in it for one reason or another. I think they do like focus groups, so like certain people at random times get like a specific role and they're allowed to like chat or something. I don't know exactly how it works. I'll be honest. I've been tempted to leave because I haven't really been involved in it, and I'm just getting mentioned in it all the time. And I feel like, on large, I don't have a whole ton to contribute to the conversation that hasn't already been said. Probably. I don't know. Maybe I actually do. Let's find out, I guess.
Okay, so looking into it, I was just able to join via the Old School RuneScape Discord. You can find it at discord.gg/OSRS. And then in the, so you go to the official Old School RuneScape Discord. You head down to the new skill discussion tab, and there is a Discord that you're able to join. You just join that, and you're in the skill pitches Discord, where they are apparently discussing it. You want to start us off with the first skill pitch here?
Yeah, so they came out with 3, as we said. I think it's important to read their disclaimer for those of you that don't know exactly how the way the skilling voting is going. We have already voted a new skill into the game. We just don't know what it is yet. So they say verbatim, the ideas we're presenting here are not yet set in stone. Any examples given in these pitches are simply to illustrate how concepts might work in-game. If you feel any of the examples given muddy the waters, or don't feel right for the skill, please let us know. All your feedback is valuable. At the other end of the scale, please remember that these are just concepts, not finished products. If something seems vague now, remember that the nitty-gritty will be ironed out in the next stage of the process, and they can change depending on your feedback. And then they also do a blurb about the possibility of there being other skills. It is a possibility that all 3 of these could come to the game eventually if everybody really, really liked them. Personally, I don't see that happening. But for now, there is just going to be one. Mm-hmm. And we need to figure out which one that is. And first up is, a lot of people probably guessed it was coming back. It's sailing, guys. Sailing is back. And this time, in my opinion, probably better than ever because the Jagex old school development team has gotten a lot better at figuring out what exactly the community wants. This was pulled, I believe, back in like 2014 or 2015 as a skill to be added to the game.
Well, originally it was an April Fool's event.
Yeah, originally it was an April Fool's joke. Very, very long time ago. It has been like legendary in the not just old school, but RuneScape community for a long time of like, oh, there's going to be a new skill. It's going to be sailing. And there's an old April Fool's joke. Legendary skill, which is why I think it'd be really funny if it was both good and in the game.
Yeah.
But now...
And I've heard some conspiracy theories. I've heard some conspiracy theories that sailing... because it's been around so long and Jagex has had such a long time to kind of keep iterating on ideas for this, they've given us these other 2 skills that they don't think the community is going to go for, and they've intentionally made them worse just so that the community votes on sailing.
You know, I can't particularly say that I don't see why people would think that. That is a reasonable conclusion to come to. But for now, I'm going to keep talking about sailing. Yeah.
We'll get into the discussion after.
Whether you're an explorer setting foot on unexplored territory, a fisherman hoping for a monster catch, a pirate looking to sink every ship in sight, or even a courier looking to move your goods from A to B, sailing has something to offer everyone. So acquire a vessel, set forth, and travel Gielinor like you've never traveled before. The core gameplay loop is going to be to navigate to a port, obtain a ship, and engage in fun activities at sea. Increasing your sailing level allows you to explore more exciting and dangerous areas. So basically, the way the skill works is you need to go to a port, you got to get a ship, and then you can sail your ship. Mm-hmm. You can do all kinds of fun stuff.
And it's important to note that they want this to be very different from what sailing was originally kind of concepted as. Yes. They've had time to kind of reiterate and kind of expand the idea of what sailing originally was proposed as. Originally, it was basically dungeoneering, but in the sea. And now, they want it to be not an instanced thing. They want you to be able to go from Port Sarim to, Brimhaven physically on the map, or to go from Korend to, Lunar Isle. You can physically sail there across the overworld, not just
which
in
I
an
think
instance.
Is sick, because, charter ships have been kind of a notoriously decent travel method, mostly specifically for Ironmen for a very long time. The idea of you saying, fuck off charter ships, I'm just going to sail there myself, is kind of novel. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I imagine charter ships will still probably be the faster method.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But this is like an interesting alternative because as is gone further into the pitch, there are things that can happen at sea. Obviously, you can go out they list out things that you can go out for. You can go deep sea fishing. You can hunt elusive sea creatures. There are navigational challenges where you navigate a ship across some sort of obstacle or threat. There's delivering packages, and there's uncovering new islands to explore. All kinds of fun things to do out on the ocean. Whereas I also imagine, delivering packages from A to B is one of those options.
Yeah.
That package could very well just be yourself. You can just probably go somewhere, which I genuinely really like that as an idea of just like, part of the skill is just now you can just sail places.
And they make a point, too, in the beautifully made infographic done by Gentle Tractor.
Yes. Shout out to both Gentle Tractor and Volcaban, absolute pillars of the old school community for a very long time.
Yeah. I believe Volcaban made the art while Gentle Tractor did the layout stuff. But they point out that one of the core gameplay mechanics of sailing is going to be navigating the sea. And they don't know exactly how it's going to work yet, whether or not you're going to use keyboard controls, or there's going to be some sort of interface you interact with, or if it's just going to be, the RuneScape movement system that we know and love in all of its jank.
Click.
But I'm kind of getting into the idea that they kind of want sepulcher-type obstacles that you might have to deal with while you're sailing, like giant waves or maybe sharks.
Which I think would be cool, but I'm probably a little biased because I really like Howled Sepulchre. So
yeah, it seems cool, and I'm getting sort of oh god, what's the pirate game that I'm?
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of Sea of Thieves vibes from some of the descriptions of how they want this to behave. Obviously, it wouldn't have the same sort of exact gameplay as Sea of Thieves, but maybe it's Sea of Thieves the skill. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah, I think sailing's a cool idea.
One thing I do appreciate, I think about all of these skill pitches, is the idea of both active gameplay and passive gameplay. I think that's really important for a skill, personally. The immediate example that comes to mind is agility.
Yeah.
The more passive gameplay loop is just doing rooftop courses. It's pretty mindless. You just kind of click on the next part. You just go. Whereas instead, you could also do something like Skullball's, ancient, but it is technically an example of active gameplay, or the better example, Sepulcher, where it's very active. You have to really focus on, where you're clicking, when you're clicking, and why you're clicking.
Yeah, I think you probably went with one of the worst examples for a skill that has an active versus a passive way of training it.
I mean, yeah, you could also just say, oh yeah, fletching, you can sit there and fletch longbows, or you can fucking absolutely give yourself arthritis by doing darts.
Yeah, give yourself a, nice repetitive stress injury there. Yeah, or with like a, skill I'm very familiar with now, mining. You could do, 2-tick granite, or you could, AFK Amethyst.
And mining's actually a pretty good example as well, because you got you can 2-tick granite, you can tick manipulate gem rocks, you can power mine iron.
You can do
all
volcanic
of which have
mine.
Their own ups and downs.
Yeah.
You can do volcanic mine. You can just mine amethyst.
The biggest thing I want out of a new skill is a variety of ways to train it.
Options. Yeah, I agree so much with
the
that.
skills that I hate the most in this game are the skills that feel the same from the moment you begin training it to the moment it finishes. So my
herb lore.
Yeah, herb lore is the same all the way to 99. You're putting a thing in a thing,
make potion,
and you're sitting at the bank doing it. But my two big examples are hunter and thieving. Now,
hunter could be good. The problem is that most of the varied methods of training hunter suck.
All of the alternate ways to train it are bad.
They're bad.
And the ways that you do train
they're
it all
either
feel the
bad.
same.
They're either bad. Yeah, they're either bad to play, or they're just bad XP. Like they're boring, they're annoying, or they're bad XP. There's like no middle grounds.
The only distinctly different way of training Hunter that isn't just put trap on the ground, wait for a thing to take it, and maybe you tick manipulate it as well, is Herbivore. Herbivore is a little bit different in that you have to track it, but there's other things that, behave the same way.
Herbivore isn't like unique.
Yeah.
It's just it kind of brought back one of the alternate methods of training Hunter with actually decent rewards and experience.
Yeah. The other is thieving, and thieving is just click on NPC, click on stall until you hit 99.
My personal least favorite skill.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
Pyramid
Plunder exists. I do like Pyramid Plunder. Just shout out to Pyramid Plunder.
Yeah, Pyramid Plunder is nice, but it's not...
It's still not even that great, though, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It is my favorite method, but it's still not that great, not that fun, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of don't like thieving, and I need to get 92.
Yeah, And
eventually 99 someday, but...
Yeah, I'm almost to 92. 71k from it, and I don't look forward to getting the last half of the skill done.
And so that nobody roasts us, also shout out to Sorceress's Garden, decent way of training thieving.
Yep.
Like, there is some variation to that skill. I just wish there was more. Because most of them kind of suck.
The issue with Sorceress's Garden is that, like, it's good for a period, and then, you're kind of... You have to move on because the XP rate doesn't keep up.
Also, somewhat notable for Iron Men, you do have to use stams. Like, constantly.
Yeah.
For that method, so.
Moving on to the next skill, we have a controversial one, for sure. At least in my opinion. But...
Summoning. I mean, taming.
Yeah. They have this big, lengthy disclaimer that summoning and taming are not the same thing, and I have to disagree with Jagex. So
yeah, I haven't read this one super hardcore, so go ahead.
Yeah, so my issue with summoning when I played, because summoning is what actually made me quit back in the day. I hated the skill. And not because of how you trained it, but because how it changed the game. I thought fundamentally I did not like how the pets interacted with skilling and with bossing and, just everything about the game. And so they make this big thing where they say, we realize that summoning was unfun because its gameplay loop is runecrafting. Which is funny because they're just admitting that runecraft has a terrible gameplay loop, but that's besides the point. So they say that it's not like runecraft. There's no getting charms, and we want it to feel different. And also, instead of the summons being temporary, they are permanent pets that you tame, and then you befriend them, and they hang around, and you get XP by interacting with them. That's cool. But my issue was how they interact with the rest of the game. So the core gameplay loop is that you domesticate a creature in the open world, care for it, providing it with food, home, and enriching activities, and you train and level your new friend. They propose that you can give it its favorite foods or do activities with it, and you'll get XP for doing so. And they don't want it to be like taming a cat, where you have to constantly interact with it and it's time gated. You can, keep doing stuff with your tamed buddy and keep getting XP. And they have a really cute picture of it, with a Bob bot, playing with a bear and a dog and trying to yank Roger the crocodile.
It's a classic, dude. I do quite like that art.
It's very cute art, and honestly, I can see the appeal in it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to interject here. For both of these two skills, I very much like the theming of them.
Yeah.
But as we will probably discuss soon here, I'm not the hugest fan of the mechanics.
Yeah. So, the reward space, they leave it really vague. they say that like maybe you can unlock new skilling methods or new areas, or that they can do stuff for you, but it doesn't really say much else than that. And in the infographic, once again made by General Tractor and Volkaban, the core of it is, you know, once again saying, hey, we're not making summoning 2.0, but then they go on to say that like the rewards are that you'll you know, get new areas, new skilling methods. They don't really expand on that because I'm sorry, one second. There's a cat outside my door.
Meow.
Papa, fuck off. Okay. Sorry about that. Papa decided he wanted to angrily meow out to my door.
I'm telling you, man, just tell him you're gaming. He'll understand.
Yeah. So Taming makes this like explicit like statement like, we do not want this to be summoning. And by making this statement, when they get to like what rewards you get out of this, it's really limited. Because
it's gonna be summoning, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be summoning. You have a guy following you, he's gonna give you certain benefits when you have certain guys following you.
Yeah, like...
And I don't want to constantly have to micromanage which guy is following me and, like, level up certain guys at certain stages of my account so that they can give me certain benefits. I love the idea of being able to tame a dragon.
Yeah, it's cool.
That sounds awesome.
It sounds awesome. But gameplay-wise, I don't think it's going to be that fun. Because,
like, am I going to have to figure out which tamed creature I'm going to bring into my PVM content? Like, this rate I'm going to bring in my dragon, but then I want to switch to fletching, so I need to go grab my, like, squirrel or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they have a picture of, like, a guy training Hunter with a dragon. And it's like, okay, so...
Yeah, that image is on my screen.
Yeah, am I going to have to do taming to get a dragon to be able to do the best Hunter method now? Like, it has the artisan problem, which was an older skill pitch, where you would talk to someone like... You know, similar to a Slayer Master, you talk to an Artisan Guild Master, and he'd say, go fletch me, 30 U longbows. And then you'd do that, and you'd get Artisan XP as well as the fletching XP. But, that essentially means you have to do Artisan if you want to skill. Just like if you want to do combat, you probably have to be doing it via Slayer. And taming to me sounds like you will have to do taming if you want to do this skill. And, we haven't gotten to it yet, but in the next blog where they talk about, kind of expand on the skilling stuff, they released it 3 days later. They talk about, like, explicitly, like, we don't want these skills to feel like, we don't want these to be FOMO skills, where you feel like you're missing out.
Mandatory.
Yeah, they're not mandatory, but they've kind of designed themselves into a corner here.
I love the theming of taming. I love the idea of having a dragon. Minor side note, this is not my major issue with taming. What about regular pets in the game right now? I assume nothing happens to them, but can I have a tamed creature and a pet following me at the same time?
So they actually get into this
kind of bullshit if I can.
The next blog. I guess we kind of have to intermingle these two blogs together.
Yeah, I haven't read the other one literally at all yet. So
yeah, so they talk about can we reskin existing pets? What happens to existing pets? And they say that like they want them to coexist. And the way they might go about this is like maybe if you have a wolf with you and your pet, your pet will still follow you like it normally does, but maybe your wolf will use smart AI and kind of like walk around the area, or it will, stand next to you kind of guarding by your side.
I mean, once again, that sounds awesome. I love that idea, but just the mechanical benefits of tamed creatures. Like I'm looking at a picture right now of a Bobbot being flown around by a raven.
Yeah.
My online persona is Birdfacts. I want that. That looks great. But if I'm constantly having to swap out my bird for other things, that's bullshit. I want to have a bird all the time.
Yeah, if like they on that same section of the infographic, they have what looks like a boar looking in an herb patch, the guy flying around with a raven, and then a bob bot explicitly getting agility XP for helping a wolf jump over an obstacle. So if I want to do agility with my wolf, and then like my herb timer goes off, every 40 minutes or something?
Hour.
Every hour, every hour do I have to then go grab my boar to go do my herb run? Like, that seems kind of annoying.
I would love to see them flesh this skill out more, but I worry that it is just going to turn into summoning int.
Yeah, maybe down the road, a year or two later when we're proposing our second new skill, we can revisit this idea.
I love the theming of this. Like I said, love the idea of going out taming a dragon and just like riding on a dragon. That'd be sick. But I really do wish that they had emphasized more what these unique interactions and companionship benefits are.
Yeah,
because it's very much a nothing burger right now.
Yeah, with sailing, they kind of had explicit these are what you get out of this in the rewards. Like, you unlock new areas, you get new areas to do content, and actually no. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's exactly what they're saying with taming too. Yeah,
it's I was about to say that's still not even that true.
Yeah.
But the reason it feels like the sailing reward space
it makes more sense with
is
sailing.
Because it's a lot easier to make up your own ideas of what sailing's benefits could be. Like, I don't think they talk about charter ships at all in the initial pitch.
Yeah.
But I just came up with the idea of, sailing is now a theoretical great alternative to I'm just going to sail myself to where I want to be.
Yeah, and in the next blog as well, they talk about, we came up with, a potential underwater raids 4 as, an idea. So.
And,
there's a lot of design
space. Having sailing as a skill requirement to get to raids 4 is not an unprecedented idea. You must complete a quest in order to get to raids 3. And also, you must complete a bunch of quests to get to raids 2.
Yeah.
And technically, you have to complete a quest to get to raids 1 because you have to go to Zaya.
You can go to Zaya without the quest.
Yeah, I don't even think you...
It's just talking to the guy.
But it's not unheard of for, specific skill requirements, skilling, not just combat, but skilling requirements to get to the raids.
Yeah,
so
I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to lock a raid behind. I think that's enough about... taming. I almost call it summoning. They made such a big thing about it not being summoning, but
it feels like even if it isn't similar to summoning right now in their heads, just because of the history of this game, perhaps it might just be my narrow-mindedness. Maybe I just can't think of ways that taming would be different from summoning just because I know too much, and think too much of summoning, but it just feels too similar.
I mean, I can understand how the core gameplay loop is going to feel very different, and I can appreciate that. But when I'm looking at these new skills, I'm more caring about how this is going to...
What do they add to the game?
Yeah, what does this add to the game? How does it impact it? Because they could add, the taming as a mini game, right? And you still have that gameplay loop. That doesn't matter. What matters is what you get out of doing that gameplay loop.
Yeah, and admittedly, I have become less and less fond of the minigame argument of, this skill could just be a minigame, because I feel like when you boil it down, a lot of skills could be minigames.
That's true. I think what makes a skill and not a minigame is the ability to do it anywhere in the game world, right?
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that.
If woodcutting was limited to just the woodcutting guild, and you could only chop down trees there, and every other tree was cosmetic.
Yeah, every other tree was just a static object.
Like in Prifddinas.
Hey, that's not true. There are most trees can be cut down in Prifddinas, just not like the really big ones.
Okay, well, some places have more cosmetic trees than others.
It's true.
I think the Shazian rework has a lot of cosmetic trees.
Yeah, I'm sitting here at Priff Bank right now. The only trees you're not allowed to cut down are like the huge load-bearing trees.
Okay. Well, yeah. But the point still stands. If woodcutting was limited to an area...
If all these trees in Priff Dinis were just cosmetics and all the trees everywhere were just cosmetic, woodcutting would be basically...
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important that sailing is an overworld thing. It's not instanced. Because then that distinguishes it from a minigame.
I can agree, yeah.
Speaking of things that are instanced or limited to specific areas, shamanism is the next skill.
Shamanism.
This initially was my favorite of the three, but I think that's
once again very well themed skill. Love the theming.
The name people aren't too fond of, but they talked about the other potential names, and when they laid it out in this way, which I'll send to you right now, Bird. Yes. The names, there's not a lot of great ones, and they wanted to avoid having crafting or craft in the name, because then people would think that the skill was, some sort of viable production skill, which it isn't. And they didn't want druidism or ritualism because then it would be too close to herblore.
Hey, yo, when we hitting up the biology skill, though?
Yeah, that was a funny one. Biomancy, I think, would be kind of a cool name for it.
Oh, yeah, that's a sick... I'm not sure it describes what this skill pitch is, but biomancy just sounds sick.
Mysticism would also be a good name, I think. But, that they're looking for feedback on this, so, feel free to hop in the Discord or reply to the survey.
I would probably agree with them, though. This skill pitch does seem very difficult to name. I think shamanism is a great placeholder name for this kind of theme and this skill, but I would also agree with the feedback that, it's kind of, it's not great. So
what they're proposing is a skill in which you use the power of nature to perform rituals. And you'll gather components, perform rituals, infuse objects with the magic of the spirit realm, and create powerful items like tikis, totems in... Ooh, this is a word I've never tried to pronounce before. Poultices?
Let me find it. Where is it?
It's in the first section, just under the picture. Poultices.
Oh yeah, I have no idea what that word is either.
And augment your own equipment with powerful new effects. Poultice, by the way, is a soft, moist mass of material, typically of
what's
plant material
the
or flower.
What's the etymology of that word? Where'd that word come from?
The etymology
is that some British shit?
Let's find out. It's Latin. It comes from Middle English.
Okay.
Late Middle English.
Because notably, sepulcher was another word that I'd never fucking heard of in my life until Hallowed Sepulcher came out.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of weird words that I know now because of RuneScape.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely introduces you to a lot of British English and, words as well that are typically used in, earlier English.
It's like how... Side tangent. It's like how... we've talked about this before. I think you spell color with a U.
Yeah.
Because of growing up with RuneScape. You fucking weirdo.
I spell things the British way. I spell armor.
I can't say that I picked that up, but it. I did become aware that was an option of how to spell these words because of RuneScape.
Yeah, I started playing RuneScape in 2006 when I was in middle school. So a lot of my spelling came from playing RuneScape. It definitely had a huge impact.
Yeah, I started playing RuneScape at a very young age.
Or I guess I would have been in elementary school, actually.
Yeah, I definitely played RuneScape in elementary school.
Yeah.
But then stopped and didn't come back until late middle school. And then I was an actual gamer and knew what I was doing. So I had both the typical RuneScape experience of logging in, not knowing what you're doing, just kind of socializing with people and maybe fishing or something. And then when I came back, I played the game more akin to how we play the game nowadays, but still kind of in that weird, I don't know how to be efficient realm.
Yeah.
Anyways, shamanism.
Yeah, so
let's go back to that.
The core gameplay loop is that you're going to forage for components throughout the world. You're then going to go to these disturbed sites to gather spiritual components. You're going to draw a ritual circle, and you can do this anywhere. And then you can create shamanic items through these rituals. And as you level up your shamanism, you'll be able to access more rituals, and you'll be able to go into the spirit realm. That sounds cool. I like paranormal stuff and ghosts. I've always had a fascination with it. You know, it's not something I think is real, but like I really like that as like a concept to play around with. And so
it reminds me, I play a lot of Destiny 2. It kind of reminds me of the Ascendant plane.
They talk about a lot of interesting ways that you can use the rewards. This is the first one that actually has like kind of concrete rewards.
Yeah.
And this has gotten some people kind of worked up. And so I didn't initially see, like when I read through this, I didn't realize what they were actually proposing for the rewards. So the first half is I'm fine with, and most people I think are probably fine with it. You're going to be able to create different items that provide different utility, and they kind of are vague on this. But you know, it'll be like support items that will help you do other stuff. And most people are fine with that. The thing that people don't like is that you'll be able to augment your equipment with stat improvements or changing your damage type or making your tools more efficient. And people don't really like the idea that to do high level PVM, you're going to have to get 99 shamanism to get like the best enchant on an item.
Yeah, it's enchantments. Mm-hmm. That's the problem that I have. Is one of the things I never liked about WoW is you would get your X piece of gear that was very good, but it's actually not as good as it could be. Now you need to go through the fucking arduous process of enchanting it and like putting an enchant on it that you like. And there are like a list of good enchants that you can put on it.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out which one is like the best for you or in what situation. I to be clear, this is not precisely that. But I never liked that about WoW. When you got something, you weren't done yet. You needed to go enchant it. I like that in RuneScape, when I get an armadillo chest piece, I have it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I mean, you know. Immediately we muddy the waters with things like Broken Torva and Fortified Masoria, but that's a recent change, and there's good reasoning behind why, you know, it's like that. I think Masoria is definitely better than Torva, because Masoria has the unfortified version,
and you can still
which is
use
still
it.
Usable.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those make sense why they're doing them. They're doing them from a perspective of, okay, we need to, this is like essentially an upgrade to a prior tier of armor.
Yeah, if
it's
Masori
not really the same way as like
was simply better than Armadillo with no need to fortify it, then you would never kill Armadillo again in your life, and
nobody ever.
Yeah, would. The armor would just become,
TOA, especially since TOA is so accessible,
the most accessible raid in the game by far.
Yeah, easily
easier than some solo PVM content.
Now, obviously, if it is easier than some of that solo PVM content, you're probably doing it at low inbos and you're unlikely to get a drop, but still.
Yeah, well, we're just talking about getting into it, you know.
Yeah, but this is different than that. This is, okay, well now, theoretically, every single item in the entire game is not good enough anymore. Now you can do this skill to make them better. And I don't like that, personally.
Yeah, and they talk about in the Q&A that they did, the next blog, they talk about a potential way of not making this an Iron Man skill, and also not making you forced to get 99 shamanism to do the end game content. They talk about, you know, they don't want this to be FOMO content. Maybe you can buy from another player a tradable version of the enchantment that you need, and it will degrade, which people don't like degrading things, And also, that doesn't really help Iron Men.
No, that does not help me. And that's where I'm coming from, is the perspective of an Iron Man. I feel like this is especially abrasive to the Iron Man gameplay, which, to be clear, the game should not be built for Iron Man.
Well, by Iron Man gameplay, I mean the way shamanism is proposed is that it's not a tradable skill.
Untradeable stuff, yeah.
You will have to gather your own stuff.
Even if it is tradable, for example, like let's say the enchantments aren't enchantments. They're like oils that you put on your weapons, right? And those can be tradable, and you can put them on your weapons, and now it does like +4 slash accuracy. I don't know. I don't care. Even if it is that, as an Iron Man, I have to make that myself. And like I said, the game should be made for Iron Man, but even still, that just... It's a consideration that they should have. It should not be at the forefront of their considerations, but it does kind of suck.
Yeah. And now that we've like gone over all 3 of the skills, I think sailing is the only one of the 2 that inherently doesn't impact the entire rest of the game, right?
It feels both isolated in its own world, yet also still connected to the world and can be done theoretically, well, not anywhere, but, you know, it feels like it can be a large portion of the world. It's not mini game that it's like, you know, in one instance. It is the entire Gielinor Ocean.
Yeah, and so sailing, I think, is my favorite, but it's interesting. Seeing the wider community consensus, shamanism seems like the community favorite right now.
That's weird, yeah.
And I think most people are coming to the same conclusion that I did upon initial reading of, this sounds cool as hell, I want to go talk to ghosts. And then they're kind of missing, you know, the forest for the trees. They're not seeing they're not seeing the wider picture of what you actually get from this skill, which is enchants.
Yeah, I'm not, like, I was reading the pitch and I was like, wow, this sounds cool.
Yeah.
But I skimmed through this on the day that it was released. I skimmed through it so fast. And so I was like, oh, okay, shamanism, this sounds cool. And as I was skimming through it, I saw enchants and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So then I stopped and like read through it. I was like, hold on a second here.
I would really like this skill if they went back through and came up with different rewards.
But what are the rewards for this, right?
Well, so you can have some...
Here's your options, right? You can make enchantments. You could make, potions? We already have potions in the game.
So
this is the same problem I have with teas from forestry.
So just looking at the pictures, I kind of got an idea. You played Minecraft. We've all played Minecraft.
Yeah, played Minecraft.
You know a Totem of Undying? Boom.
Yeah.
Totem of Undying. Something you can have in your inventory. If you'd fall to 0 hit points instead, you get healed as if you had a Phoenix necklace on. You know? Different, like, little effects like that you can have in your inventory. They take up an inventory slot, so, you know, they have some sort of cost to use. You had to make them. They had to be in your inventory. But, you know, they have effects like that where you might be able to survive where you wouldn't otherwise. And, you know, maybe that would be a really high level thing, because being able to survive something that would normally kill you, that's pretty strong.
Yeah. But,
you know, you can have things like that. Or
the thing I worry about that one is, I don't know, the balancing of that definitely sounds concerning for that particular item, but I'm not going to go into it because, you know, this is just us throwing pitches at the wall of what this could possibly have.
I mean, maybe it could just simply function like a Phoenix necklace, where you have to be within that, you know, 10%, 20% or whatever it is threshold for it to go off. You can't just go from, you know, 99 to 0 and somehow survive. So it wouldn't be usable in, like, say, Jad or something. Jad or Zuck.
Yeah.
But, you know, they could also have, like, you know, they've been trying to push out, like, campfires. You know, they had it originally in the pitch for making friends with my arm, and then they have it now with forestry. I don't think it passed in forestry. I can't remember.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention. I think I voted no, just because the reason I voted no in that one is because in the making friends with my arm vote, it was very specific what campfires were going to do. And had I been voting at that time, I probably would have voted yes to those, honestly. Those didn't pass, I think, partially because it was of a different time. There were a couple of them that weren't great, but it was very specific about where they were and what they would do. Say again?
What's the threshold nowadays for polls?
75, I believe.
Okay, so Campfire has narrowly failed. Hey, editing Sparry with a quick correction. In October 2022, it was changed so polls only need a 70% yes vote to pass. So what we talk about in the next bit is incorrect, but I'm leaving this in to keep the flow of the conversation. Back to the podcast. But maybe with shamanism, you could make a ritual, and you place a ritual down.
Yeah, you could have like a ritual circle, like the picture of that guy that has like a totem that has like a home teleport animation around it.
Yeah.
Instead of a campfire, maybe it's like a spirit thing that buffs nearby. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. And, maybe it restores your run energy when you run through it. Or
like incense.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture of that there, too. That's a good one. I should be able to have a backpack that I can put incense on that buffs nearby players.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of like niche little buff ideas you could get from shamanism that wouldn't impact like XP rates.
And one of the things I actually really liked going to Ruinous Prayers was the prayer that makes your eat delay 1 tick faster, so you can eat food faster.
Yeah.
It does not change your action delay, but it just changes your eat delay. I thought that was cool. That was an interesting idea.
Yeah, maybe
it'd be cool if you could have like an incense you could burn that like reduces eat delay, or maybe even reduces action delay. That would probably be really powerful, but it would be cool.
Yeah. They could implement a lot of like skilling and minor combat changes via this. I think there's a lot of room for this. And so I might still vote for shamanism because of that.
Yeah.
If the reward space is looked at, because we still as a community have the power to fill out the survey and give Jagex these ideas, or go into the Discord and discuss these ideas with Jagex.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. It's got a lot of potential here, but the current reward space is just not it, Chief.
Yeah, I don't like what they're currently proposing. But what it could be, I think, is very good.
I think there's definitely some cool ideas to be had, but for me, I'm probably going to be voting sailing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Partially because I think it has the most like reasonable method at which to be a skill in the game at this point, but also just because of how legendary sailing is within the RuneScape community. Having it be in the game and be actually good would just be so cool.
Yeah, I think that's well put. And I think
if they had like we said, if they had a different reward space for shamanism and maybe a little bit more specificity with how taming was different than summoning, I would be more convinced for either of those.
Yeah.
But for me, sailing is the safest bet.
Yeah, sailing is definitely the safest bet here, with shamanism being a close second for me, and then taming being far below that.
And if you chose something else, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think all 3 of these pitches are cool.
They're all solid.
All of them, they're all clearly inspired. They clearly care about all 3 of these designs. They clearly thought about all 3 of these designs. The theming, like I said, for all of them is great. I love the idea of having an animal companion. I love the idea of the spirit realm and all these rituals and stuff. And I love the idea of having my own ship and going to all these cool places.
Yeah, I think they all feel very old school as well. They'd fit in with the world and the lore. And I can't see any like huge major issues with any of these that would, like I wouldn't be upset if taming was added, or I wouldn't be upset if shamanism or
I might be upset if taming was added, depending on how different it was to summoning. But once again, this is not the final stage of the process.
It'll be refined.
Probably brings us back up to the top of this blog, where there is there's still a large bit to go here. We're at stage 3 skill pitches. We're then going to go to stage 4 with one of these skill pitches that we will vote on probably next week. I don't remember when. The one that gets the most votes is going to be more and more fleshed out, and then they're going to pull it again. Then if it passes, it will be like they're going for it. They're going to have a beta.
Yeah.
They're going to let us do stuff, But if it doesn't pass in locking in, we're going back to this stage. We're going back to, okay, do we rework sailing more, or do you want us to try something different?
And we can, jump ship at any point and say that we don't like, where this skill is going, or we don't like any of these ideas, and go back to the drawing board.
Jump ship quite literally if we are polling for sailing.
Yeah. I think moving on to the next blog, this is, nothing too, this doesn't impact gameplay, but they are doing the Jagex accounts beta.
This.
You can log into the Old School Runescape website and see if you've been invited to it, and migrate your account to the Jagex login system. You'll have 2FA,
this is big, guys.
Email login, and your password will be case sensitive for once.
Yeah, I was about to say.
With special characters.
Finally, we can put special characters and capital letters in our passwords. And also, I believe, if I remember correctly, one of the things you can do with the Jagex account is you will have all of your RuneScape accounts linked to the same email.
Yes.
So your Jagex account is no longer just like, okay, my old school account is this account. That's it. No, now your RuneScape accounts can all be tied to the same Jagex account, which is cool.
Yeah, and you can still log in
if you use...
to multiple accounts at the same time under the Jagex account system. Yep. That everything will stay the same with that.
It's if you use the Jagex launcher right now, which if you don't, what are you doing? Go get it. You can still play RuneLite through the Jagex launcher, and you can log in through your multiple accounts if you have more than one RuneScape account. And you can just select a dropdown, select which account you want to play on, and hit launch. And it'll launch RuneLite, and you don't even need to type in your password once you get in. You just hit play.
It's been so long since I've typed in my password. It is so nice.
Yes. Very, very nice. And that's how this system is going to work. You're just going to be able to have all of your RuneScape accounts tied to this one Jagex account, which is super cool. Multi-factor is going to be more secure. On the back end, they say they are doing a lot of, work to make sure that the hacketing that occurs very frequently in this game, it seems, will hopefully occur less because of more up-to-date security standards that aren't from a spaghetti code game from 2007.
My conspiracy theory, real quick, is that there was the case of a former JMod that went rogue and, hacked people's accounts. I think that was a special case. I think nowadays, most people that get hacked just don't have a secure email.
I think for the large part that's true. I think a lot of the time it is on the people that get hacked, but I don't think that's 100% true.
I'm
think that
blaming.
I think that there is definitely some problems with the Jagex current security methods.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe I can't point out any stories specifically, but I am fairly confident that there have been some issues that have been entirely on Jagex because their security system is just kind of old and not good.
Yeah, it should definitely be improved. But
a lot of cases are just, well, your password was the same in 10 different places, and somebody got it from one website and then went to RuneScape and was like, oh, look, it's the same password and they don't have multi-factor. I have this account now.
Yeah, if you don't have 2FA on your RuneScape account and on your email, do that right now. That is the best way.
Do it on your email. Oh my god.
It is.
Secure your email account.
Your email
please.
is the keys to the kingdom for every single account that you have anywhere.
If you do not have your email secure, I will go to a website and request to reset your password if, in a hypothetical universe where I have your email. I don't have it, but I'm pretending like I do right now. I'm just going to go to one of your websites that you log into and request to change your password. Boom. I'm in, buddy.
Yeah, and once someone has your email,
secure your email right now.
They can forward all future emails to another email, and even if you get your stuff back, they'll just re-hack you. That account is gone.
Yeah, so be very, very careful with your email account and make sure it is well secured. Mm-hmm. This is not fear-mongering, just please do that.
Yeah. And I think now we should move on to a break.
I agree.
This episode of guthixrest is sponsored by the Black Hat Hackers. We're going to steal your gold, whether you like it or not. Pay us money.
I'm going to log into your email account, and I'm going to change your password, and then I'm going to log into your RuneScape account, and I am going to request to turn off your PIN. Even if you have a bank PIN, I'm getting your money.
We're also sponsored by RuneScape 3. This is not summoning, we swear.
Boy howdy, I sure do love microtransactions.
Welcome back from the break.
Wow.
So, Birdfacts.
Hello.
What are you drinking today?
I am a big proponent of good old-fashioned water.
Yeah, that'll probably be a trend of what you're drinking.
That's pretty much all I drink.
Yeah.
I'm not a big drinker. I don't do alcohol. I don't really do mixed drinks. I don't do... Mixed drinks, not even alcoholic caffeine. Mixed drinks. I mean, like, literally just, like, you know, anything, like, lemon... the most I go for is, like, a lemonade or, like, an orange juice. But even that's rare for me. That's, like, sometimes if I'm having a breakfast that's, like, especially unique, I'll be like, you know what? I'm having some orange juice with this.
I mean, that's a great way to cut calories out of your diet, you know? A large source of sugars and calories that people consume comes from their beverages.
And water's great. It's refreshing. Doesn't really taste like much, but if you really need it to taste like something, I've heard there's some pretty good water flavor things.
Yeah, I have a Mia pod thing that I've
heard those are nice.
That I like using.
But I'm just a water fan. I just like water.
Water's good. I'm currently drinking some hard cider from a growler that I got from the local bar.
Nice.
Needed to finish this off for a little while now, so figured now is a good time. But during the first segment, I was drinking myself a nice iced latte. Nice. Delicious. Mm-hmm.
I do hate coffee. I mean, that's probably, I think most people would say coffee's an acquired taste.
It certainly is.
And I haven't acquired it and don't have any plans to.
I think part of the problem a lot of people have with coffee, too, though, is they drink not great coffee, you know? They go to their favorite local mermaid coffee store and they will purchase, you know, whatever iced caramel frappuccino or whatever, and they use some shitty coffee beans. I'm not gonna lie.
I wouldn't know.
There's a reason most people that get mermaid coffee tend to get a lot of sweeteners in it. Sweeteners and flavorings, because the base coffee isn't very good. It's a very dark roast. It's not very high quality. I'm a big coffee snob, so...
Hang on.
I like some good coffee.
There's someone in game. I, of course, am playing RuneScape right now, doing a little bit of fletching, and someone has
just crafting here.
Someone has just requested a bird fact of me. Me, of course, being named Birdfacts. I do offer bird facts. If you see me in game, feel free to ask. I will most likely give you a bird fact. I use my Group Iron account is BirdfactsTM, but I also have the BirdfactsR and BirdfactsC accounts.
Yep, I just have the one account that I play on primarily, just Sparry. It's my main account, working towards maxing this year, so I do have some other accounts, but they've kind of been set aside because I don't really enjoy playing them all too much. But you had some topics for us for the second segment here.
Yes, I do. Sorry, I'm still typing this bird fact. Did you? Speaking of bird facts, did you guys know that the average hummingbird weighs around 4 grams? There's a specific breed called the bee hummingbird, which is closer to 1.6 grams, which is less than the weight of a penny.
Tiny.
They're very small.
To think that like birds evolved from dinosaurs, and they went from dinosaur-sized all the way down to smaller than a penny.
Yep, big old pterodactyl boys, all the way down to tiny little hummingbirds.
Mm-hmm.
But we've still got some big birds. If you've ever seen a cassowary, that's
oh yeah,
those guys are big.
I mean, if you see one of those, you'll know that they came from dinosaurs.
Yeah, those guys look like dinosaurs. But also big bird, harpy eagle. Those guys are huge birds.
Yeah, absolutely massive, and weird looking too.
I really like the way they look. They're fierce as hell. Love it. Anyways, as for more RuneScape-related topics, earlier on, towards the beginning of the show, we were talking about the fact that Slayer kind of sucks at early levels.
It really does, early on.
Yeah, by kind of sucks, I of course mean it really sucks. And I would love to see... I know it's been a while. But the game used to just get Slayer updates all the time. That was a lot of what the game had.
When we first started back in 2018, there was a meme that every update was a Slayer update.
It was always Slayer, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all the time. And so maybe it's a remnant of the fact that was the thing when I started. And so I always feel like, oh, well, they have to avoid Slayer updates because that's all they do. That's not really anywhere close to true anymore.
It's been a while since we've had a Slayer update.
Yeah, it's been quite some time. And I forget who I was talking to. It was someone in the Petscape, but it might have been Elephant. But talking about how the leaf-bladed axe is, it's pretty iconic. So it's a weapon that exists, and you got to use it for Taras and Karasks, but it's 5-tick.
Still pretty powerful even at 5-tick, though.
Still a pretty powerful weapon, even outside of on task and at Taras or Karasks, since they're especially weak to it. But I was wondering, what if we got like a little Karask boss, and what if you could get like an attachment that made it 4-tick? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that just be quirky?
That would be kind of quirky. And that would kind of make early Slayer a little bit better. I mean, at that point that you can kill Karasks, you're at 70 Slayer, so it's not like super early on. But I would like to see more Slayer bosses implemented for like the early game accounts.
Realistically, as we also spoke about at the beginning of the podcast, I recently made it to 87 Slayer. Kraken is like the first Slayer boss you can do at 87.
You have Guard boss at 75.
Oh, that's true. I suppose that's true. I did do a little Guard boss somewhat recently, but
you unlock Sire at 85.
Yeah, but I don't want to do Sire.
Yeah, Sire is kind of stinky.
So I would argue that at least for Iron Man and possibly for mains as well, by the time you unlock Sire, you're probably not ready to do Sire yet.
No. Sire is one of those bosses that is really frustrating up until the point where you have nearly maxed gear, and then it becomes really easy.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the final phase.
Yeah, I personally have not fought the boss, but I am vaguely aware of how it functions. And yeah, that final phase is just like, wow, I love having to deal enough damage in this randomly generated damage game.
Yeah, the way it works is you'll be teleported away from, or you'll be teleported towards the boss. Then you have to run away from it before it does a bunch of damage and explodes. And a bunch of minions are going to spawn in, and they're going to start evolving. And you have to kill them before they evolve too much. Otherwise, they're going to do a lot of damage to you really quickly. So a lot of people will either I see Hallie. I don't know if DDS is better. It might be, or they'll claw spec, or they'll venge the explosion.
Or even Void Waker, I imagine nowadays.
Yeah, I imagine Void Waker would work.
I know that's like useful basically everywhere claws is useful, so.
Yeah, you just do a big spec and you try to finish off the boss before it kills you. And if you don't have a good spec weapon, it's kind of just RNG if you live or not, it feels.
Yeah. I have really only ever done the high level Slayer bosses in leagues. Because I haven't, like, this is my new group iron is the highest Slayer level I've ever been in my life. I made it to 88 today while finishing up a second Slayer task. This is the highest Slayer I've ever been. So, on main game at least. I've only ever done, like, I didn't do Sire because I didn't want to do Sire because it sounded terrible, but I did do a little bit of Cerberus and quite a bit of Hydra. And Cerberus, in my opinion, awful. I hated that.
Yeah, Cerberus is also a boss that I don't think is super fun.
The thing I hate the most about Cerberus is the ghosts.
Yeah.
Why do you get punished no matter what you do? If you pray right, you lose a ton of prayer. If you pray wrong, you eat shit. Like, what the fuck were they thinking?
Yeah, it's either you take a ton of damage or you lose all your prayer points.
That even extends to Garg Boss, because Garg Boss, for the thing where Dawn threw out the orbs, either Dawn healed or you took a shit ton of damage.
Yeah,
by trying to pick up the orbs.
In an older version of the fight, before they changed it, picking up the orbs dealt damage to you.
And it was like not a small amount of damage.
The longer the orbs sat, the more damage you took. And oftentimes it was impossible to grab all the orbs before
they just shred you.
Yeah.
And
so what high level players would do is they'd have dragon darts in their blowpipe, pre-blowpipe nerf, and would just try to out DPS the phase before
destroy her before she'd get healed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that wouldn't always work.
But even if it didn't work, it was probably still better to, not pick up the orbs and take a bunch of damage, and instead just deal through the damage that she got healed for.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably a design concept of an older time, is just bosses just punishing you no matter what.
And we haven't had a new Slayer boss for a long time, so we don't know what a new Slayer boss would look like.
Hydra
would probably look closer to Muspa or something.
Hydra's about as close as we have, and Hydra I didn't mind too much. Hydra didn't feel as terrible. There's still some oddities with Hydra, but Hydra was a lot more mechanic heavy and a lot more avoidable, it felt.
Yeah, if you do Hydra properly, you take basically no damage the entire time.
And Hydra also tells you what attack style he's using nowadays. He has animations for when he switches styles now, so you don't even have to count, which is great. I personally voted no when they said that they were going to change Hydra to do the animations, because I was like...
And I think you're wrong.
It was like Hydra's only mechanic. The rest of the mechanics were pretty easy, in my opinion. Yeah. So, but, I mean, it was one that I voted no to, but wasn't that adamant about. If it passed, I wasn't going to be too upset, because... I'm a big fan of audio and visual notifiers for when bosses are doing something. I like reactionary gameplay.
Yeah, I think if they were to make the Slayer bosses nowadays, they'd be a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
Kraken wouldn't be AFK. They'd probably fix it.
Yeah.
But the boss has been in the game for so long that's just how it is.
Yeah, I don't think Kraken's ever going to change. I think they're fine with where Kraken's at, especially with the drop table that Kraken has nowadays. It's not nearly as impactful as it used to be, obviously barring Iron Man. But talking for the main game, it's not as much of a pinnacle drop for mains. The fact that it is cheap allows people to get into PVM pretty early, grab that trident, just start wailing away on stuff. I think that balance is fine.
And the fact that the trident scales off of your magic level means that it's never going to be too powerful in the early game.
So that's probably fine where it's at.
I would like to see some new lower level Slayer bosses implemented.
Yeah, and going back to the Kurask boss, like that would be, I think, a nice reintroduction to them adding Slayer bosses to the game. I think it'd be kind of cool. Making the leaf-bladed axe 4-tick probably maybe isn't a good idea, especially with Cudgel existing. Where does that leave the Cudgel? What role does it even have at that point? I don't know.
Yeah, the Cudgel's already in a weird spot where you really don't use it anywhere unless you're a low-level account who doesn't have a lot of money that's trying to get into Sarachnis.
So maybe they
very quickly learn that the low-level boss is not very good for low levels to kill.
Hey, hear me out, all right? Maybe instead of just an attachment to the leaf-bladed axe that makes it 4-tick, it's an attachment that also consumes a Cudgel.
I don't know how I feel about that. That feels very.
It feels weird.
Yeah,
but it even if you could just make the leaf bladed axe 4-tick, it just leaves the Cudgel in an even weirder, obsolete spot. So I don't know.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Crawling hand boss.
When I was talking about how the fact that I wanted a Kurask boss, someone else told me the same thing. They're like, "Yo, crawling hand boss, guys."
Yeah, just master hand.
Master hand.
Have a giant hand you gotta fight. It could telegraph different attacks. A big slam that hits the middle of the room. A punch that winds up and goes across the room, kind of like how Nightmare does. You don't really need much more mechanics than that. It's a level 5 Slayer monster, so bada bing, bada boom, master hand boss. Maybe hands. Maybe you get a key from it, so it's a sporadic thing. But I know people don't really like bosses that require keys, so maybe you can just do it on a hand task.
Yeah. And I think another important thing here is that theoretically, the crawling hand boss doesn't need to have like some weird ass unique item to chase after.
No. It could literally just be, here's a boss you can fight. It gives you some XP. It just introduces you to mechanics.
And maybe it's like Kraken, where the drop table is like basically the same as the normal enemy, but a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or, maybe it could drop gloves of some kind that are, a low-level glove that's better than the leather gloves that player is probably wearing at that level.
True. The only worry I have is, does it have a pet?
Oh, absolutely.
Because now I have to grind Turiel tasks or something to get this stupid pet if I'm a pet hunter. But to be fair, the game should not be made around pet hunters. Pet hunters should just have to deal with it. That's what they signed up for.
But, I mean, think about how great it would be to have,
a crawling hand pet would be really funny.
Yeah, the Thing from the Addams Family. Or Thing. Sorry, not the Thing. Just Thing. Just following you around.
That would be quite humorous.
I would love that. But, there's a lot of other Slayer monsters that you could potentially give a boss.
Terror dogs
even implement
at level 40?
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
We have, because I think I'd like to see one kind of around the level 40 range, maybe. Because that's kind of where Slayer starts to get a little terrible. Around 45, you get access to Infernal Mages, the worst Slayer task, ever.
I think I've literally killed them, once for something.
Just terrible. Absolutely awful Slayer task. Maybe a Cockatrice boss could be cool.
Yeah,
a Cockatrice Fiend boss.
Yeah.
Harpy Bug boss, guys?
I don't know about that one.
That would be stupid. No, it was a joke. Don't do that.
Terror dogs I think could be a good option. You could have an Infernal Mage boss, so if you get that terrible Slayer task, you go kill the Infernal Mage boss that might have some mechanics. I like the idea of medium level Slayer bosses that do telegraphed attacks. I think that's a great way to introduce the concept of there's a dark shadow on the ground. Do not stand there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the boss is doing this thing, and it always does this thing after having done that thing.
Yeah, it's a good way to introduce players to those concepts.
I'd actually really like to see a cockatrice boss, but, probably a pretty obvious bias there.
Yeah, you just want more bird pets.
Yeah, it'd be sick. But also, cockatrice in RuneScape is, severely underappreciated, I think. I wish that, because I don't know if I ever even killed a single cockatrice on this account, even after having done early level Slayer. I never got that task, I don't think.
I don't know if I have either. I think there has to be a reason I've killed them, probably, right?
I think they have, decent medium glue chance.
I can check my Slayer helm. It has a log on it.
Oh, yeah, the helm does. I was, going to go to my house
you
and
have to
check
wear it, though.
The thing.
I've killed 0 cockatrice.
Let's see.
I can check Infernal Mages while I'm at it. I've also killed 0 Infernal Mages.
48 cockatrice, 121 crawling hands, 76 Infernal Mages. What are those stupid things?
I've killed 3 Terror Dogs, and I think you can guess where.
I've only killed 1.
How do you only kill 1? There's 3 in the quest.
I don't think you have to kill them.
Oh, do you not?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, I killed them.
I think you need to kill 1 for a diary, but you can just run past them.
Okay, well.
I think you only have to kill, what's his face?
Tarn.
Tarn. I think you only have to kill him, and the Terror Dogs just kind of are there.
Interesting.
Maybe even a Banshee boss. Banshees are kind of...
Banshees are cool.
Also somewhat iconic low-level Slayer monster.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of cool ideas you could do for low-level Slayer bosses. And, there's also ideas for non-low-level bosses, because I think low levels just need more bosses.
Yeah, but I think the reason that they've struggled with this is often because, for example, with Bryophyta and Obor, I think they struggled with what they were going to drop, to try and incentivize people to care. But I don't think that matters too much,
Well, it wasn't until recently that Bryophyta's essence became free-to-play for the, boss that is free-to-play.
Dumb. That was the dumbest thing of all time.
Yeah.
God.
But I think the bigger issue with Obor and Bryophyta is the fact that they're sporadic bosses that require keys. Mm-hmm.
I think I think them being key gated is fine because Bryophyta specifically, because that drop is actually pretty useful and also a clue step item at this point.
When it was first implemented, though, it wasn't a clue item.
Yeah, but that item actually has a decent use case, saving nature runes. Obor's Club, it's just kind of cool. Not a real use case.
It's the best crush weapon in free-to-play.
Oh, wow. Amazing, dude.
It's on par with the best weapon in free-to-play. The
Isn't
scimitar.
It 5-tick?
It might be.
I recall it just being terrible.
It's 7-tick.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a finishing weapon. It's a knockout weapon for free to play.
I guess.
Which, their best option before that was over in 2H, so.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I think that
and sorry, when I said it was a crush version of a Rune Scimitar, I meant crush version of a Rune 2H.
Gotcha, okay. But yeah, I think for new lower level Slayer bosses, I don't think they necessarily need to have some weird nichely useful drop.
I agree.
There could be something, but I think for the most part, just having the boss, having it have some mechanics, and maybe having it a slightly more expanded version of the drop table of the normal enemy, probably fine.
Yeah, I agree.
There needs to be enough incentive there to get new players willing to do it. beyond just like, oh, it's cool. It needs to have like obviously some kind of incentive of like, oh, there is a slight benefit to doing this boss and possibly using some of my supplies to do this, because if you're just killing crawling hands, you don't really need any supplies. Theoretically, at a boss, you would probably maybe use some supplies. So,
well, if they do what I suggested, where it's all telegraphed attacks, theoretically, even a new player could get to the point where they're taking 0 damage.
I guess, yeah.
And I think that's where you'd want a boss like that to be. Otherwise, it'll heavily incentivize new players not to do the boss.
Yeah, there needs to be some incentive there for them to actually do it. It shouldn't be anything too crazy. Maybe it could have some kind of like low-level side grade upgrade thing. But I feel like there's not a whole lot of space in the lower level tiers, because oftentimes, as RuneScape players do, you just rush for like some of the higher leveled things anyways. So
yeah, you definitely have to be careful with upsetting the balance there.
I definitely have to do some research on like what people that are killing crawling hands are usually using and what they could possibly upgrade into. But like, for crawling hands, like you said, maybe there could be some kind of like funny glove slot item, or even literally just cosmetic items, like unique cosmetics from these bosses, and that would give them theoretically some kind of value, and then lower level players could maybe get a little cash drop.
I think some design space as well that they could potentially look into is low level rings.
That's true.
What ring are you using at low levels until you get the Dagonoth rings?
But at the same time,
wealth, maybe
the Dagonoth rings aren't that crazy. They're like
they're not
+4s by default, and then +8s when imbued, usually.
Yeah, you could have these be like +2 rings.
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
Drop one of each style. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. I think there's definitely some space to be had there. It'd be cool to see it expanded. More accessibility into getting into PvM is always good, because I remember when I was a wee lad and I was basically a skiller, I did combat, but I never really did like Slayer or bossing or anything. I just like hit goblins or something. And I mostly just did skilling, but PvM is, I mean, love it or hate it, it's most of this game. So getting more players into the parts of the game that are most heavily invested in the development is probably a good thing.
Yeah, PvM is like what most people play this game for. Like, there are people that are skillers, it's true. But I'd say like the core audience of the game are here for like bossing and doing raids and eventually getting to the point where they can do that, because that is the most fun and engaging content.
Yeah. And there's plenty of different ways of playing the game. A lot of people find fun in different ways, but yeah, I think it's, as you said, basically just echoing that. It's the core audience is mostly interested in PvM updates, and that's why a lot of updates are PvM updates.
All right. Did you have anything else you might want to talk about? I think you had some YouTube complaints maybe that you brought up earlier.
I've got some beef with the some of the namesake creators of old school content. Neither of them are watching, but I am going to scream specifically at Settled and Framed. Listening, I guess, yeah. Watching, because I'll probably make a YouTube edit of this, but this is a podcast, so you're not really watching much. You're just watching possibly the ability of me to edit whatever we're talking about onto the screen, so you have any amount of context at all.
Yeah, and you'll have Subway Surfer on the bottom half, and Family Guy on the top half.
Yep, and then I'll probably have like some cutting soap satisfying video thing, or like the things where they like fill the test tubes with different density fluids so that they go onto certain layers. That's a popular
and you'll have bold impact font in the middle of the screen with what we're saying.
Yep, that's what we're talking about.
Cool.
I will, if there is captions on this video, I am so sorry for future me. That sounds terrible. I don't want to do that.
That sounds horrible. Yeah.
But anyways, I hate Settled and Framed. I don't actually. Whoa. I really like them. They're both great content
Bold claim
creators.
for the first episode of the podcast.
No, Framed is my single favorite old school creator. Love that guy. He's funny as hell. I'd watch any content he makes. He doesn't need to make it on old school. I just think he's genuinely funny. And Settled, I do like as well. I have not watched a lot of his content lately, but that's because of Tileman.
Mm-hmm.
Tileman was very interesting to start because it was an idea that had been done before. It was an idea that had been done before, but not expanded a lot. And so the idea of that was of going to like the later game, and that was like, okay, let's see where this goes. But we quickly ran into issues when he decided what weapon he was going to get for the Inferno. At the time, I had recently started my group Iron Man. Recently might have been quite a few months at that point. I don't really remember the exact time frame of this. My group Iron Man was made the day that Group Iron Man came out. And I've been playing this account ever since. But I did a Song of the Elves rush on this account. And so when Settled announced that his new plan was to go to Gauntlet and get the Bow of Fahrenheiten, I instantly lost interest in that entire series. Because that's what every single Iron Man ever does. Not every single one. If you're an Iron Man out there that's never done Song of the Elves and's like doing good in your life out there, good on you. But that is a very popular. It is a very popular and it is a meta strategy for playing an Iron Man. And I just didn't care. Like before that, even slightly before he announced that, he did LMS to get his rune pouch, and he presented it as like this novel concept that had never been done before, which I don't think he meant. Like I don't think he meant that it was never done before, but it seemed like he was presenting it in that way.
I don't think the intent was to present it as like this new idea. He's talked about on a podcast that he's been on that I think it was the Sebe cast, that like when he makes his videos now, he has to target an audience
that might not
isn't
never
familiar
have
with
played.
RuneScape.
I am aware of that, but just as someone that has played the game, it feels like he's patronizing me now.
Yeah.
And it just turns me off. Massive respect to Settled. He's got that absolute grind set in there. He's going at it. When I said I hate him, it's a complete joke.
He did talk about like, you know, he it's a careful line to balance to not patronize existing RuneScape players, but also to be able to introduce these concepts to new players that may have literally never played the game before.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think it was just it was basically a back-to-back of him doing LMS, and you know, he did not necessarily mean to introduce it as this brand new novel concept, but it kind of felt that way. And then immediately, shortly thereafter, being like, all right, now I'm going to get Bow of Fahrenheit. And I was like, you're just playing an Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
That's all this series is anymore. It's Iron Man, except I have to go to Crabs sometimes so that I can walk. And that just wasn't interesting to me anymore.
I think I remember having this conversation with you when Talman first came out, and I predicted that the account would just be AFKing somewhere for a bunch of XP, and you're essentially now a main. Yeah.
For the large part, you were right.
Or he'd run out of tiles, and tiles would become too expensive, and the series would just end with him, you know, spending thousands of hours to grind for like a single tile.
Yeah. So for the most part, he's just playing Iron Man now, and that's fine, but that's not what I'm interested in seeing. That's what I do already, and I'm not really interested in watching someone else do that because I'd rather just do it myself. But a similar concept of why I hate Framed, side note, don't hate Framed, like I said, basically my favorite content creator. He's doing a series right now where he is trying to make an account solo raid ready as quickly as possible. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So for the first episode, he did, you know, some beginning quests, did some money makers, and I didn't quite notice it yet, but the signs were there. He was doing a money-making method that he had done not too many weeks prior, where he was buying uncharged rings of wealth and taking them out to the wilderness and charging them and selling them. I didn't really notice that because he had done that before, and so I was like, oh, that's kind of funny that he's doing that again. And then in the next episode, basically the entire episode is, I'm going to go do LMS to make money because I need money.
Yeah.
And then he stopped doing LMS for a while, and he was like, all right, I still need more money. I'm going to go do Revenants. And
yeah, I did watch that video, and it was just, him doing other content interspersed with LMS for a while, and then I kind of lost interest.
Yeah, it's not interesting. All of these series are just the normal way of playing, not the normal way, but pretty normal way of playing the game. And I think when Framed goes to actually go do the raids, he's going to do them solo, and he'll be on like kind of a jank account, so it could be interesting. But that part in specifically just bothered me, because I was like, man, what is with all these series just turning into, I'm just going to play an account normally? I suppose that's just because of the way I want to see RuneScape content. I want to see like these unique, interesting things that I don't normally do. For Frame, that is PKing. I don't do my own PKing ever. So seeing him PKing in like weird places or with weird setups is kind of fun. And Framed is also genuinely just funny. His quips that he says, the things that he goes on about, and the way he screams at people sometimes, basically never, but he's just a funny guy, that's the kick I get of that. From Settled, it was mostly Swamp Man, Swampletics was once again not a completely new concept.
No, shout out to our boy Mauritania.
Shout out to Maury, but the production value was there. And it was not a normal way of playing the game by any means, so it was interesting to see the way that he approached that challenge. And that's what I like to see. I like to see weird ways of playing the game that I would probably never do. And so just seeing all this content from these two creators that I have massive respect for turn into things that I'm not interested in is just moderately upsetting to me, but absolutely a me problem.
Yeah, obviously people are still enjoying the series. They're still getting, tons of views, but, it might not be as interesting to the older audience that, originally came for something else.
Yeah, and if they're still making, views and they're still able to pay the bills, respect. But that content's just not for me anymore.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. Not everything has to be made for me. I don't expect that to be true ever. If they're having a good time making it and they are able to support themselves by making it, that's sick. That's awesome.
Yeah, speaking of content that is sick, have you seen Jeoparite's series, the Northern UIM?
I have been recommended that series so many times. And I'm like, oh man,
good.
I should start watching that. And then I don't. And then it comes up on my feed again. I'm like, oh man, I should watch that. And then I don't.
He puts a lot of effort into the series. It's really good. I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like pretty good series around right now that I still need to watch. Like I still need to go watch the most recent Gielinor games. Didn't watch that. I've heard that's really fun.
Very good.
It's a good watch. It's Will. Just in general, while we're talking about content creators that are good, that guy's fucking funny.
His latest video was pretty funny. I watched that during the break.
I haven't actually seen his latest. That was the one where he lost Voidwaker, right? That's the title. Does he actually like get smited?
He just doesn't protect item.
Oh.
Spoiler.
Yeah, that's good. That's funny. But yeah, there's definitely some good content out there. I just haven't gone to find it. I've recently actually been watching a lot of Legal Eagle videos. Because he just talks the whole video, and I can just sit here on my phone. And not on my phone, I'm on my computer, but I can play RuneScape and just listen to him talk, which is kind of nice. Yeah. Because when I watch, it's usually nice. when I go to watch like RuneScape content, like usually I want to see what's going on a lot of the time. So
yeah, there's a difference between content that you can listen to and content that you can watch.
Yes,
that's why I'm a big fan of podcasts.
That's kind of that was part of the reason why we started the podcast, right? Is because you're like, man, I want more old school podcast to listen to. And while necessarily I don't want to listen to my own, other people might have this problem. Yeah.
Shout out to the people that inspired me to really start this. TNL's XP Waste with Michael and Oxy. Fantastic. Love XP Waste. Go give it a listen.
I'll maybe do that at some point because I still don't listen. Sorry, guys, if you're listening.
and they just had some great guests on recently. I feel like this is season 2 of XP Waste. They've had a lot of guests on. They've had helenae recently. They've had Radish Boy. They had Tanzu and Virtuoso on. They just also did one with Carter from the Lumbridge Lounge, another podcast. They're more sporadic uploads, so I don't usually listen to them. And they
just
also
outright saying that you hate them. I can't believe you, man. That's rude.
Listen, I like some consistency in my podcasts. Also Zulu. I think Zulu was... No, Hanani was the first guest, and then they had Zulu after that.
If they have Framed on, I'll start listening. Because I remember I was in the Discord call with one of them in there, and I was like, oh, man, I love Framed. And he was like, oh, should I invite him on? I was like, absolutely, dude. I'd start listening.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the Wilderness podcast, which I think might be one of the oldest old school RuneScape podcasts that are still around.
That's crazy.
Yeah. How many episodes have they done? Let's find out.
1 million.
234 episodes of the Wilderness podcast.
Are they sporadic or do they do like weekly-ish?
They do weekly, but they took a long break for a while. They started all the way back in 2016.
Wow.
And then they took a long break, and now they're back at it.
Nice. Respect.
Yeah. Wilderness podcast, very good. Would recommend. I also listen to a bit of Sebe here and there. He's been on a kick about mushrooms lately. Not really my kind of thing, but
I'm sorry.
Oh, he did mushrooms or does mushrooms now. And it tends to be a topic of a lot of his casts.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was scrolling down Twitter, and he asks on Twitter, he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have X person on the cast," which I asked them, and someone replied, "Ask them about mushrooms," and he said, "Thank you for giving me a segue into that," because it's kind of become a meme now.
That's funny.
Yeah, when he went on another podcast, while not strictly old school related, all the creators are old school streamers, the Based After Dark podcast, and they definitely talked about mushrooms a lot during that one. Based After Dark,
stuff like that.
Also pretty good. Definitely something you do not want your mother hearing you listen to. They talk about drugs and sex mostly.
Nice.
But it's a good listen. You can get a good giggle out of it.
Unless you've censored the various F words I've dropped in this podcast, I don't know that people would want their mother hearing them listening to this podcast either.
Oh, I'm definitely censoring it.
Okay, nice. So I can just scream the F word whenever I want. Is what you're telling me, and it'll just create extra work for you.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go, dude. I'll probably do like a RuneScape hit sound or something.
Oh, yeah, that's actually good. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that just about does it.
Yeah, you should talk about all the stuff we talked about in the Hidden Lost episode.
Mm-hmm. We have a few places you can find us. On Twitter, we have at guthixrest where you can tweet us questions or give us critiques or just, ask us about our days.
Please ask us stuff. We need content.
Mm-hmm. You can also find myself on Twitter at AGuyNamedSparre on Twitter. You can also find me on Twitch where I never stream, twitch.tv/AGuyNamedSparre. And where can they find you?
Basically nowhere. I don't really do social media. But I do have a Twitter. I think I tweeted like a couple bird facts on it, with the intention of maybe setting up a bot, and then never did it. But I do technically have a Twitter, and I also have a YouTube. All kinds of fun stuff. I'm Birdfacts are everywhere. That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Sad. We also have a coffee, or Ko-fi. I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm gonna say coffee.
I assume.
We also have a coffee at ko-fi.com/guthixrest, where you can give us a donation so I can fuel my caffeine addiction.
Do not feel obligated to. We don't deserve your money.
No, but if you like what we're doing, maybe you can, give us a small donation so we can improve our audio setups.
Yeah, mine's jank.
Yeah, mine's also jank. You can also support us on Patreon, where we might do some bonus content in the future, but for right now, it is strictly a donation. You can do that at patreon.com/guthixrest.
Right now, these are basically just a formality. Content creators have these things. We want to be content creators. We want to be up there with the big boys, so we just have those things, Yeah,
and it's a good idea to park the URLs as well, even if we don't really plan to doing much with them. But
don't want anyone stealing that from under our nose. Oh,
I think that about wraps it up.
Unless we really, all I was gonna say about the Jagex account thing was that it was pretty easy to do. So we don't really need to. We can edit this part out. But I was just gonna say that it was really easy. So I don't think we really need to talk about it.
Nah, I think it's fine. They can figure it out themselves.
Yeah, we talked about it. We said it was probably a good idea, so it's probably fine. Anyways, continue wrapping up the podcast.
Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Keep on scaping.
Bye-bye!